Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're taking a deep dive into the Australian iGaming market. It's a market that's, it's been attracting a lot of attention, and we're here to explore what makes it so unique.
Yeah, the Australian iGaming market is really fascinating. It's a huge market with tons of potential. And, despite having a well-established gambling scene, there's still a real sense of opportunity, especially in the online space.
You're right. The research we've got definitely backs that up. Over 70% of Australian adults have gambled at least once in the past year. That's incredible. It really makes them global leaders when it comes to, gambling participation. And this isn't new, is it? Australia has a long history with gambling.
Oh, absolutely. Gambling's been a part of Australian culture for ages, really. Goes all the way back to when the British settlers first arrived. They brought horse racing with them. And events like the Melbourne Cup, that started in 1861, they really highlight how deep-rooted that tradition is.
It's amazing how a single event can kind of capture a whole culture, know? But it doesn't stop there, does it?
Yeah.
The 20th century brought about a whole new era of gambling in Australia.
You got it. The mid-20th century is when those pokies, as they're called, really took off. Slot machines, basically. And they became, they're everywhere in clubs and casinos. And then in 1973, Australia opened its very first legal casino, Rest Point Casino, in Tasmania.
Right.
That was a major turning point. It really accelerated the growth of, land-based casinos all over the country.
So from horse racing to pokies to casinos, Australia's really seen it all, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Now, with the internet, everything's changing again, and iGaming is becoming the main event. But going digital comes with its own set of rules, right?
Exactly. The Australian government's been pretty proactive in regulating online gambling. It all started with the Interactive Gambling Act of 1998. Bit of a complex system, though. You have both state and federal laws to deal with.
Sounds like it could be a bit of a maze for anyone trying to get into the Australian iGaming market. Could you maybe break down the most important regulations for us?
Sure. A really crucial piece of legislation is the 2001 Interactive Gambling Act. Now, this act makes it illegal for companies to offer online casino games and poker to Australian citizens. But there's a catch. Sports betting and horse racing online are perfectly legal.
So it's a mixed bag for operators. They can offer some types of online gambling, but not others. But what about Australian players? Are they restricted from accessing these prohibited games?
That's where it gets interesting. Companies might be restricted, but Australian players themselves, they aren't penalized for playing those games. It's not a crime for them.
So it's a bit of a gray area then. Companies face restrictions, but players have the freedom to explore the full range of online gambling.
Yep, and that's why it's so important to really understand the legal landscape. And you have to stay up to date because things change. For instance, there are new customer verification requirements coming into effect in September 2024. Those will impact all online gambling operators in Australia.
So anyone looking to enter the Australian market, they can't just learn the current rules. They have to be ready for changes too. With all these complexities, what would you suggest to someone wanting to launch their own iGaming operation in Australia?
Well, a lot of people are turning to iGaming white label platforms. These platforms offer a ready-to-go solution for those who want to get into the market quickly and efficiently.
Can you explain what an iGaming white label platform is and what advantages it has?
Imagine you're starting an online business, right? But you don't want to build everything from the ground up. An iGaming white label platform is basically a pre-built online gambling website. It comes with everything you need already set up. Casino games, sports betting, the works.
So like a one-stop shop for launching your online gambling platform.
Exactly. Think of it like Amazon, but for iGaming. Everything's ready to go. You get website development, system maintenance, payment processing, marketing tools, really strong security features, even separate systems for the front end and back end. It's all taken care of.
That's really comprehensive. And I'd imagine this approach would save a lot of money and time getting to market.
Absolutely. iGaming white label platforms give you a cost-effective way to enter the market. It lets you focus on attracting players and building your brand instead of getting stuck in all the technical stuff.
Seems like a smart way to handle the complexities of the Australian market. But success in any market means understanding your target audience.
So let's move on to the Australian player in our next segment. What do they like? What are their habits? What motivates them?
You really have to understand the Australian player. They're a diverse bunch with a lot of different preferences, but one thing's for sure, Australians love to gamble.
Yeah. Demographics show that men are a bit more likely to gamble, about 80.5% compared to 66.2% for women. But what's really interesting is the sheer variety of gambling they get involved in.
So it's not a one-size-fits-all kind of market. What are some of the most popular ways people gamble in Australia?
Pokies or slot machines are definitely king. They make up over 50% of all the money spent on gambling, and there are something like 190,000 of these machines across the country.
Wow, 190,000 machines.
Yeah.
That's a lot. It's like you can't go anywhere without seeing one. What about other types of gambling? We talked about horse racing earlier, which has a long history in Australia.
Yeah, horse racing is still a big deal, especially for those major events like the Melbourne Cup. It's not just a race, it's a social thing, there's fashion, it's a national event that everyone gets into.
It sounds like the Melbourne Cup is like their Super Bowl for horse racing. But with online gambling growing so fast, are those traditional forms like horse racing feeling the pressure?
They're holding their own, but the real growth is definitely happening online. Sports betting, particularly through mobile apps, is exploding. Australians are crazy about their sports, and they love to bet on them. Aussie rules football, rugby league, cricket, those are all huge. But international sports like the English Premier League are gaining popularity too.
So it's a mix of local and global sports driving the growth of sports betting. What about lotteries? Are those still a thing?
Lotteries are super popular still, across all age groups, really. Games like Powerball and Oz Lotto with jackpots that get into the hundreds of millions, they really capture the imagination. Everyone wants a chance to win big.
Seems like there's something for everyone in the Australian gambling market. Pookies, horse racing, sports betting, lotteries, it's pretty diverse. What about casino games? Where do they fit in?
Casino games are popular, but mainly at land-based casinos. Blackjack, baccarat, and roulette are the favorites. It's interesting, though, you see cultural influences in the preferences. Baccarat, for instance, is especially popular with players of Chinese descent.
It's fascinating how cultural nuances can influence what people like to gamble on. We've talked about all these established forms of gambling, but are there any new trends emerging? Anything that's attracting the younger generations?
Oh, esports betting is definitely one to watch. It's huge with younger people. Games like Counter-Strike, Dota 2, and League of Legends are generating a lot of betting activity. It's a global trend, and Australia is no exception.
So the Australian iGaming market is clearly very dynamic. There's a rich history, but it's constantly evolving, adapting to new trends and technologies. What does this mean for someone thinking about entering this market? What are the big opportunities and challenges they need to be aware of?
Well, the opportunities are substantial. Australia has a high participation rate when it comes to gambling. They spend a lot per person, and there's a very diverse player base with a wide range of preferences. There's a growing demand for online casino games, even with the current restrictions. Plus, the payment systems are very reliable, with options for e-wallets, cryptocurrencies, and local payment methods. There's a lot to be excited about.
Yeah, definitely. But no market is without its challenges. What hurdles should potential operators be prepared to overcome?
Well, the regulatory environment is definitely complex. You really have to understand the Interactive Gambling Act and stay on top of any changes. And the competition is fierce. There are some big players already established in the market. So you have to stand out, offer something unique to players, and then marketing is key. You need to cut through the noise and connect with your audience in a way that resonates.
We've looked at regulations, players, opportunities, and challenges. It seems like the Australian iGaming market is both attractive and demanding. For anyone looking to get into this market, what advice would you give them?
I think research is absolutely crucial. Understand the rules, the players, the competition, and the new trends that are popping up. Partnering with experienced providers like TC Gaming, for instance, can give you a real edge. They specialize in iGaming white label platforms, and their platform is designed specifically for markets like Australia with a comprehensive range of services.
Can you tell us a bit more about what TC Gaming offers? Why would it be beneficial for someone going into the Australian iGaming market?
TC Gaming's iGaming white label platform basically gives you everything you need to start your own online gambling business. It's like a fully equipped online casino ready to launch. Sports betting, live dealer games, slots, lotteries, it's all built in.
So they handle all the technical stuff, and the operator can concentrate on strategy and getting players. What are some of the specific advantages of using their platform?
It comes down to efficiency and cost effectiveness. They take care of website development, system maintenance, ongoing support, payment processing, marketing tools, security. Everything's in one platform. It really streamlines the process and makes it much easier for new operators to get started.
Sounds like a valuable resource for anyone trying to navigate the Australian iGaming market. As we wrap up today, what's the key takeaway you'd like to leave our listeners with? What's the one thing they should keep in mind if they're thinking about getting into this exciting market?
Well, I'd say the Australian iGaming market, it's definitely got potential, but it's tricky. You really got to be strategic and informed about what you're doing.
Yeah, for sure. It seems like we've uncovered a lot today, like the whole history of gambling in Australia, how the regulations work, and how iGaming is taking off. If you had to give one piece of advice to someone ready to jump into this market, what would it be?
I think I'd tell them to really do their homework, understand those regulations inside and out, figure out what players want, and know who they're up against. Platforms like the one TC Gaming offers, those can be a real game changer, especially if you want a smooth and quick entry.
We've talked a lot about the pluses of these iGaming white label platforms. Could you give our listeners a better idea of how TC Gaming stands out from the crowd?
Well, TC Gaming, they offer this whole package of services, and it's all geared towards helping iGaming operators. It's not just about the platform itself. They help you build your website, maintain the system, handle payments. They even give you marketing tools and really strong security features. And they're there to support you along the way. It's a true turnkey solution. It takes a lot of the headaches out of launching and running your iGaming operation.
Sounds like they could be a really valuable partner for anyone trying to make it in the Australian iGaming market. As we wrap up our deep dive today, any final thoughts for our listeners?
The Australian iGaming market is a really exciting space to keep an eye on. It's changing fast, and there are tons of opportunities for those who are willing to adapt and take advantage of its unique qualities. The key is to be strategic, use the right tools and partners, and be ready to roll with the punches as things change.
That's great advice. We've just scratched the surface today, but hopefully this has given our listeners some valuable information and a good starting point for exploring further.
Definitely. And there's a ton more information out there for those who want to dig deeper. Industry magazines, market research reports, and company websites like TC Gaming's.
To all our listeners, we encourage you to keep learning, stay informed, and think about how you can grab those opportunities this dynamic market has to offer. Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive. See you next time.